Well, it turned out to be a blast. I went to the Greenbrier to caddy. Turned out I did not have to carry a bag. Everybody that I was assigned to caddy for eventually brought their own caddies. Cousins, family members, just friends. So as it turned out, I was walking down the hill next to the short game area and drunk by the turn, saw Kristen and I and said, "Hey, are you guys caddying?" I said, I didn't have a bag yet. So he said, well, why don't you walk around with us for the day? And that was perfect. So we'll fill you in on how the rest of the day went, even though I didn't get to caddy. We met a young lady named Tristan. She had come to volunteer and saw an opportunity to caddy on Thursday, and she was waiting pretty much in the same line that I was, in the same chaos. And as time went on, it seemed like neither one of us were going to get a bag. She finally did get a bag. We talked about it a couple days later, but what I was amazed at was that she drove from 2 hours away, and she stayed in a tent at a nearby campground just to be able to volunteer for the Pro-Am tournament caddy and then for the actual golf tournament. And hopefully she got to watch a little bit of it. But cheers to the volunteers. Another awesome part of playing with Drunk by the Turn was that we got to meet the stars of Manifest, JR and Melissa. And JR was playing. We got to meet them both before the round started at the driving range. I was over at the Caddy Chaos, and Kristen was basically cruising the driving range looking for selfies. And she saw two folks that she recognized, and she gave me the sign. And I knew immediately that it had to be somebody famous, and came around the corner and saw JR smiling at us. And it was so cute the way he recognized us recognizing him. So then we got to talk to Melissa and about golf, about their recording, about the show. It was an awesome time bonding with them, and we just couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. After a few holes, Jerry Foltz showed up, and he came by and picked Kristen and me up. And we rode around with Jerry for a few holes. Jerry took us to the merchandise tent, where we saw Andre again, the buddy who manages the merchandise tent. I say buddy because he sees us in so many tournaments. And we hung out with Jerry for a little while. We told Jerry about Melissa and JR. And what was really neat was when Jerry found out about how Melissa and JR met, he made it a point to go over and tell JR how he and Karen had met in a similar fashion, basically on the job. So it was neat telling that to Melissa that the love story had made a complete circle that day. We met a couple of other volunteers, Bob and Robin. They were watching us interact with JR and Melissa at the driving range, and they could just tell that we were talking to somebody famous, but they didn't know who they were, and they were so eager to know. They introduced themselves to us and basically asked us who the famous people that we met were. Before the first tee shots were fired, we were on the first hole, and at the Greenbrier you climb up a pretty steep set of stairs to get there. And while we were up there, we saw Don Brulé, the announcer from LIV, and we saw Travis Miller, who now works for LIV and records a show called Four Ball with Annabelle Angel. Check that show out. We had a great time talking to Dom. Turns out Dom used to live in St. Albans. Well, we had just spent a week in St. Albans watching the LIV tournament at Centurion. So we had a lot to talk about, restaurants, where we stayed, walking around the town. So it was pretty neat getting to talk to Dom. Once the round got going, Talor would set up a 50 to 60 foot putt after the hole was over. And anybody that wanted to get in it would be able to play for $100. Basically, if somebody made the putt, everybody else paid that person $100. And a couple holes went by, and when we got to the third hole, it's the hole that has the tremendous depth. Most of the guys hit putts that broke way too much, and Talor said that the stipulation was that the ball had to go past the hole, go up the hill, and come back down the hill. And when our guy JR from Manifest got up, he's a lefty. And he was able to knock it far enough up the hill. He got it, and take a look.
Guys, pretty shady right here.
A little bit.
Oh, he's high enough. Oh, this is good. Good.
Yeah!
Late entry worked out good for you. Extra honey right here.
That's all good, man. I'm happy.
JR and Drunk by the Turn were having some issues with keeping the ball in the play for a little while. Talor comes over and gives them both a little bit of swing advice. It's great to see the pros helping the amateurs with their swings. The secret was basically come more from the inside, quit coming over the top. While I was waiting to be assigned to caddy, Kristen was cruising up and down the driving range, and she saw Bryson DeChambeau offer his driver, the new crank driver, to Charles Howell III to try on the driving range. In fact, Bryson was teeing the ball up for Charles Howell III. Kristen got to watch the whole thing, listen to them talk about the new driver. And then after Bryson left, Kristen waves to Charles Howell III, "Come over here, I need a selfie." And she got a picture with Charles Howell III. By now, Kristen knows a lot of the caddies' names. She saw Mike, Pat Perez's caddy, on the driving range. And Mike was talking to a couple of other fellas. This time, she just basically said, "Hey, Mike, can I have a picture?" And he turned around and walked over to the edge of the rope and stood for a great selfie with her. Another awesome caddy is Kessler Perrine. He's Patrick Reed's caddy. We saw him coming down the hill by the short game area. He had a few clubs in his hand, and we yelled, "Hey, Kessler, can we get a picture?" And at first he was a little reluctant. He says, "I have to get these clubs over there." He stopped though and gave us a great pic. It was awesome. Thanks, Kessler. Kristen and I met some Twitter acquaintances. We met Dr. Queen Har and her husband, John. And they're from Pittsburgh. They love the Steelers and they love LIV Golf. The tournaments, we love to meet people that are just roaming around and ask them why they're there at the tournament. And we met Julie, Travis, and Dwayne from Toronto. And they had come to watch a LIV Golf tournament. It was awesome. Had a great time. We'd see these folks throughout the tournament. And at one point when we were over in the food truck line, Julie was ahead of us a couple of positions. And she turns around and yells to us that, "Hey, they're out of fried Oreos." And we thought, which was a joke, but she had us going for a minute. It was good to meet the folks. We mentioned fried Oreos, but really there was a lot more. The food truck lady was very friendly and accommodating, and she just kept us laughing every time we came by. On Thursday night, we got to have dinner at a small pizza place in West Virginia with Jerry Foltz and Dave Faraday. And it was a great time. We got to tell our stories about our vigilante dentist here in Oklahoma, who basically apprehended 4 thugs who were breaking into one of his properties, and they enjoyed that story. We rekindled some of the memories from playing golf at River Oaks, and we got to watch what happens when you're with David. His popularity is amazing, and people don't mind coming up and interrupting you at dinner to try and get a picture or an autograph. And we watched that happen while we were there. Towards the end, as we were heading out, a family wanted another picture, so I was basically recording it, and Kristen and Jerry decided to photobomb it. When you go to your first or your next LIV Golf tournament, make sure to find the MC, Jason. He is a smash to get a selfie with. He will hand you the microphone. They'll record you. So it's just a tremendous experience. Go up, say hello to Jason, and get a selfie. Tell him John and Kristen sent you. And yes, Zach Brown was the concert after the Friday night opening day, opening round. The concert was amazing. Zach played all the favorites, and he played covers that everybody could sing along with. It was an amazing concert.
Oh my God, I want to get this damn thing out of my purse. Here we go.
Oh my, that is true. And like I said, it's so great that you guys.
Oh yeah. I want to make sure.
Yeah, that is so
He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. That was like when he was like in his 20s. That's what he said.
Well, it had to be 90s. So it's 30.